Good afternoon and happy Thursday. Welcome to NYSE TV Live. I'm Trinity Chavez, and today is Thursday, June 13th, and we have a very special show in store for you today. Global investment banking giant Goldman Sachs is celebrating its 25th listing anniversary here at the epicenter of global financial markets and will ring the closing bell at 4 p.m. Eastern. Now we have Goldman Sachs's branding all over this iconic building, from the cubes above the trading floor behind me to the bell podium. And that's not all. Goldman Sachs works side by side with the NYSE to take over all the NYSE exhibition spaces to display historical artifacts from the NYSE archives as well as from their own collections, highlighting the company's rich history as an NYSE member firm and the milestone IPOs they've led. More than 40 Goldman Sachs executives, global leadership, and alumni are here and on hand for the celebration. Among notable attendees are current chairman and CEO David Solomon, who will ring the closing bell this afternoon, along with his predecessor, Lloyd Blankfein, who served as the company's chairman and CEO from 2006 to 2018, and his predecessor, Hank Paulson, who served as Goldman Sachs' chairman and CEO from 1999 to 2006. Paulson led Goldman Sachs during its transition from a private partnership to a publicly held company. On May 4th, 1999, Paulson rang the opening bell as the firm officially began trading here at the New York Stock Exchange under the ticker symbol GS. At the time of its listing, Goldman Sachs was the second largest initial public offering in the history of U.S. finance. However, the decision to transform the firm into a public traded company was a hot topic of debate. Then, by the late 1990s, Goldman Sachs was among the last investment banks in the U.S. to be privately held. For some at the company, there were concerns about how going public would change the company's culture, particularly when it came to its aspirational partnership structure. For others at Goldman Sachs, the need to access more capital to better serve its clients and support the firm's growth was key and a key driver in the argument to go public. Now, in the 25 years since Goldman Sachs' IPO here at the New York Stock Exchange, the firm has experienced significant growth. Let's take a look at some of those milestones. In 1999, the firm's net revenue was $13.3 billion. But then in 2023, that figure more than tripled to $46.3 billion. Meantime, the bank also had a presence in over 20 countries in 1999. Then in 2024, essentially double. The firm has had a presence in over 40 countries. When Goldman Sachs went public, it had 13,500 employees. Now, 44,400 employees. Finally, Goldman Sachs had $300 billion in asset under management when it listed here at the New York Stock Exchange. Fast forward to March 2024, and Goldman Sachs has $2.8 trillion in assets under management. Goldman Sachs' 25th listing anniversary celebrations this afternoon is the latest major milestone event hosted by this iconic institution, and we're going to explore the investment banking giant's history at the NYSE, which stretches much further back than 1999, after this message from the exchange. Now, at the start of today's show, we showed you some artifacts highlighting Goldman Sachs' history as an NYSE member firm and the milestone IPOs that they've led. Now, did you know that this relationship began in the 19th century before Oklahoma, New Mexico, and Arizona were even states? For more on this, I'd like to bring in NYSE Chief Historian Pete Ashe. Pete, good afternoon. I mean, it's a great day here at the NYSE, right?
Oh, it's a fantastic day. Always great to have Goldman on site.
I know, it's really incredible. I know we have a lot to get to, but let's start by talking about this relationship. Can you elaborate more on it so our viewers who might not know can get informed?
Yeah, as you said, 25 years as a public company, but our relationship goes back over almost 130 years ago. So let's go back to 1894. Goldman Sachs co-founder, Samuel Sachs' brother Harry, became a partner in that firm. And 2 years later, Harry Sachs became the first Goldman Sachs partner to become a member of the New York Stock Exchange when he purchased his membership share on November 5th, 1896. Just to set the scene, that same year, the Dow Jones Industrial Average was first published by the Wall Street Journal at a whopping 40.45 points. Today, for comparison, it's trading at around 38,000. Jumping forward a little bit, in 1925, Sidney Weinberg, who would lead Goldman Sachs for nearly 4 decades, purchased a seat of his own on the New York Stock Exchange from the estate of Lee Gasley for $104,000. Weinberg would become named the senior partner in 1930, presiding over the firm's recovery from the 1929 market crash. And during World War II, like many other people on Wall Street, he served in the government, and in his case, as the vice chairman of the War Production Board under President Franklin D. Roosevelt. Weinberg, who went by the nickname Mr. Wall Street, was at the helm when Goldman Sachs led 2 of the most notable IPOs in the 1950s.
Wow, that's all very incredible, Pete. I mean, let's talk about, 50 years after its first IPO celebration. Talk to me more about the significance in having them here at the NYSE, especially, with all the points that you just mentioned.
Yeah, so, 50 years ago, I think what's interesting is that, obviously New York Stock Exchange has been helping companies go public for 232 years, but Goldman really helped the first sort of modern IPO. What do you think about a modern IPO today? And that was the Ford Motor Company's $667 million IPO in 1956. That offering, which was about 10.2 million shares, was the largest offering in common stock in the U.S. at the time, and one of the first that attracted retail, a man on the street buying it as well. Sidney Weinberg was a personal friend of the Ford family and was an advisor on it, and he became one of the first of Ford Motors' outside directors. And a year later, Goldman Sachs co-led the IPO that brought Disney to Wall Street. On November 12, 1957, Disney, operating as Walt Disney Production, made its NYSE debut. That timing was particularly notable as it came 2 years after Disney opened Disneyland Amusement Park in Anaheim, California, had spent a lot of their standing capital and needed to raise some more money to keep operating. And Goldman has continued to act as an advisor for Walt Disney's company into the modern years. In recent years, it helped advise on the acquisition of Marvel Entertainment in 2009, Lucasfilm in 2012, and 21st Century Fox's television and film studios, cable, and TV business in 2018. Goldman Sachs has been at the forefront of many of the other notable IPOs at the NYSE over the years. A couple other notable ones, about 30 years after Goldman Sachs helped Ford IPO, it set another IPO record when it helped Consolidated Railroad Corporation, or Conrail, go public. In 1976, Conrail was created by the reorganization of 6 bankrupt railroads and was initially owned 85% by the U.S. government. After passing the Conrail Privatization Act a decade later, Conrail became the largest IPO in U.S. history at the time when its 52 million shares started trading on the NYSE in March 1987. Then in 1993, Goldman got back into the car business as a lead advisor on a Daimler American listing, the first German company listed on the New York Stock Exchange post-World War II. And to go to more recent history, 6 years after it's listed itself here on the New York Stock Exchange in 1999, it helped the New York Stock Exchange go public with a merge with Archipelago, listing on the New York Stock Exchange in 2006.
Wow, I mean, that's just such an incredibly rich history, Pete. Thank you so much for talking all about that and informing our viewers.
It was my pleasure. Always great to have Goldman Sachs in the building. You can't tell the history of the New York Stock Exchange without talking about Goldman Sachs.
Amazing. I'll catch up with you later. Now, in just a moment, we're going to be taking you live to the boardroom where Goldman Sachs CEO David Solomon will deliver remarks before NYSE President Lynn Martin presents him with an NYSE medallion. But before we take you there, we're actually going to take you there in about 30 seconds. But I just want to give you a preview of what we're going to expect in the moments ahead. After they give remarks, they're going to continue down to the trading floor where they're going to sign the distinguished guest book along next to the long list of celebrities, entrepreneurs, leaders and innovators who have been a part of the celebrations here at the NYSE and have signed that book. But actually, I'm getting word now that we're ready in the boardroom, so I'm going to throw it over to, again, the NYSE president, Lynn Martin, to continue our coverage.
Good afternoon, everyone. It is my honor to welcome you all here today. My name is Lynn Martin, and I'm the president of the New York Stock Exchange. Now, we like celebrating IPOs here, but we really like celebrating anniversaries. And I can't think about an anniversary that has meant more to us than the anniversary of Goldman Sachs' IPO on the New York Stock Exchange 25 years ago, May. Congratulations to all of you in the room. Now, why is that so special to us? If I look at our relationship, our iconic institutions, histories are intertwined. Hopefully, when you walked through our lobby today at 2 Broad Street, it took you back throughout history a little bit, be it the artifacts that are in the lobby, such as Henry Sachs' 1896 testimony in front of the NYSE Admissions Committee, or the first IPOs that we celebrated together as partners in 1906, those being United Cigar and Sears Roebuck. I've never seen our lobby taken over by a firm, and that just really speaks to our amazing centuries of history that we have had across our organizations. But what I want to talk about is our modern day history. To put it quite bluntly, we look very different if we aren't partners with Goldman Sachs. So thank you for that. Since your IPO, 2 areas that are most acute to me for that partnership. Now, number 1 is the well-worn path of your alumni network to become NYSE CEO, of which one person in the audience, John Thane, I wanted to specifically call out. So, John, you must have had a tremendous amount of fun on that podium in 1999 because you decided to do it again with our own institution in 2006. And having led the acquisition of Euronext, I can personally thank you because that is how I joined this iconic institution. Now, importantly, another story of how we look very different if Goldman Sachs is not such an incredible and critical partner to us. And that is the story of a less well-known CEO at the time, a gentleman named Jeff Sprecher, who's in the corner over there. 2 Goldman alums, Lloyd Blankfein and Gary Cohn, constructed a partnership with Jeff Sprecher to form a company called ICE. And as true partners, Goldman led ICE through a variety of acquisitions, including the acquisition of this iconic institution back in 2012. Had ICE not acquired the NYSE, the amount of technology, innovation, and investment would not have been possible and allowed us to become a nearly $80 billion market cap. So, on behalf of all of us from NYSE and ICE, thank you. Thank you for being innovators in the market. Thank you for all you do every day to show the world what best in class truly means. And we can't wait to see the next 25 years and beyond of our own intertwined history. So with that, the man who is leading it all at the moment, David, please come on up.
Thank you all very much. It is a delight to be here. It's a delight to see everybody. I want to personally welcome you to the 25th anniversary commemoration of our initial public offering. Many of you in this room played a vital role in that pivotal moment in Goldman Sachs history, whether it was the long, and I hear passionate debate that ran up to it for years, the roadshow, or just the very process itself. The financial world was watching very closely, and when the big day came, Goldman Sachs pulled off the world-class execution for which our firm is known. There are many people to thank, but I especially want to recognize our distinguished guests. First, our first chairman and CEO as a public company, Hank Paulson. Our former president and COO, John Thain. Our lead director and former executive vice president and CFO, David Viniar. I also want to recognize our former chairman and CEO, Lloyd Blankfein, who will join us for dinner in a little while. And I would also like to recognize our former senior partner, John Corzine, who could not be with us today, but was instrumental in the decision to take the firm public. We're delighted to have you all with us today, and many of the partner alumni who shepherded the firm through the same transformation that Goldman Sachs has guided thousands of clients over the years, including Bob Hurst, Dan Jester, Greg Palm, Liz Robinson, Esta Stetcher, and Chris Cole, who will be joining us at dinner later this evening. Also with us are many of our current leaders from our management committee and the partnership committee who continue to build on the foundation their predecessors laid. May 4th, 1999, marked an inflection point in the trajectory of Goldman Sachs, but we have continued to grow and strengthen the firm ever since. It is truly remarkable. Not every firm survives going public. Some of our fiercest competitors from those days no longer exist. John Thain and I were talking yesterday morning, and we looked at the cover of the Goldman Sachs prospectus. There were 13 underwriters on the cover of the Goldman Sachs prospectus. We didn't do a good job boxing out the co-lead managers. But of the 13 firms on that prospectus, only 4 still exist as independent firms today. It has been an eventful 25 years since then. There have been plenty of ups and downs, but we've persevered through the dot-com bubble, the financial crisis, the pandemic. We have been able to overcome a number of important challenges, and through each of these, the current stewards of the firm spend a lot of time thinking about how do we do it, what can we learn. It all comes back to culture. As many of us know, one of the biggest issues about going public was the concern about what it would mean for our firm's culture. It was clear to most that we needed permanent capital to grow. What was less clear was how going public would affect our partnership culture over time. A quarter century later, it is remarkable how strong and defining the firm's culture remains. There's a relentlessness about us that just won't quit. We never stop questioning what we're missing or what we're getting wrong. We learn and we adapt with the times. And most importantly, we never take our position for granted. We always act like we have something to prove, just like we did the day this firm went public. To work at Goldman Sachs is to have a healthy paranoia, and we need to continue to preserve our market positions, grow, and be the firm where the most talented people want to work. And so today, we're here to mark an important moment, but also to recognize our special responsibility to carry and continue that legacy forward. There is no higher priority for us than continuing and preserving our culture, and it begins by recognizing the contributions of so many of you. So thank you for your vision and for the example you set. We will do our best to live up to the extraordinary standard you set in putting Goldman Sachs on the path to ensure its position as the preeminent investment bank and one of the most successful and exceptional organizations in the world. Thank you all for being with us today and for your continued commitment to our firm. Everybody have a great day.
Okay, so we have a few few traditions at the NYSE, a few gifts to present to you, David. We're 232 years old. You don't turn 232 without having one or two traditions.
Boy, that's old. We're only 155.
I know, you're our younger cousin.
Yes.
First, it is my honor to present you with this medallion. Every day we strike a medallion for everyone who rings our bell and uses our gavel. It is my honor to present you with today's. On the front is our 6 pillars, which stand for a variety of things, but importantly, they stand for access to free markets around the globe. And on the back is the buttonwood tree. 232 years ago, we were founded under a buttonwood tree just on the corner of Wall and Broad, so it reminds us of our roots.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. And then, it is also my honor, because you will be closing the market, to present you with a slightly smaller gavel. Because the fun thing about closing the market is you ring the bell and you use the gavel. So it's my honor to present
Thank you very much.
with this as well.
Can we leave that right
We
there?
can leave it right there, yes. And one other thing to present you with, as CEO of Goldman Sachs, it is my honor to present you with a bull. May you continue to lead the charge as the premier investment bank.
Thank you so
around
much.
the globe.
Appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Thank you. Thank you for your partnership.
Right here, and then one other thing, and then last but certainly not least, it's our honor to present you on behalf of all of us at NYSE to present Goldman Sachs with its 25th anniversary listing certificate.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Are you all ready to close the market? All right, I'm going to turn it back to our web hosts who are hosting the webcast for those who couldn't join us in the room.
And we're going to be speaking with Mr. Solomon later on the trading floor. But right now, I'm bringing in JD Durkin. He is the host at public.com and contributor for CBS News. Good afternoon, JD.
Good afternoon. What a fun day and a historic day for the folks over at Goldman Sachs. This is
A
awesome.
very historic day. And, you know, I want to talk about, we heard David just mention all the milestones that they've achieved, being such an innovator, a leader in the banking investment space. However, they've had significant growth, especially recently, right? Let's talk about that. What do you think is driving the most recent gains?
Yeah, first of all, it's a pretty killer dividend stock at $275. It's obviously a financial leader. It's slightly outperforming not just the overall S&P 500 Trinity, but the other big financial names. It's trading better so far year to date than even names like certainly Morgan Stanley by a far shot, and even JP Morgan Chase there as well. And you hear David Solomon be unafraid to talk about AI. He says, look at the future of all these data centers, these massive pieces of infrastructure that drive the AI revolution moving forward. They all need to be financed. Who better than Goldman Sachs is his argument to lead that AI revolution forward. I think that helps explain the growth in part that the bank has seen, the financial institution has seen, and I think helps explain why the stock has traded so well so far in 2024.
Let's talk another hot topic, focal of forefront conversations. I can't even talk, but it's at the forefront of conversations here on Wall Street is obviously the Fed decision, rate cuts. We haven't really seen much movement in this space throughout 2024, and no rate cuts have taken place. So how is this impacting the overall banking sector?
Yeah, absolutely. I think in this high interest rate environment, we got the separation between the haves and the have-nots. Those smaller banks, the smaller institutions, think of those regional names we covered a lot this time last year. Yeah. They're really facing the pressure. They've got previously issued debt, and that debt now becomes worth less in this new era of new issue debt at higher interest rates. But you got the big names on the block, the too big to fails, including maybe a company here like Goldman Sachs. They're doing really well in this high interest rate environment, and I expect that to sort of continue here. But hey, we came into this year expecting a lot of rate cuts. We haven't had any so far. If we don't even have any, or even if we just have that one in September, look for names like Goldman Sachs to continue to benefit.
A lot to look out for. Thank you so much, JD, as always.
Thank you.
Right now we're getting images of the team making their way to the trading floor. As I said, they're going to sign the distinguished guest book right before closing out the U.S. equity markets in just a few moments. But we're going to switch gears a little bit right now. Goldman Sachs Asset Management, formed in 1988, provides investment and advisory services for some of the world's leading pension plans, sovereign wealth funds, insurance companies, endowments, foundations, financial advisors, and individuals. Judy Shaw sat down with the global head of exchange traded distribution, Brendan McCarthy. Let's take a look.
on NYSE Floor Talk at Exchange in Miami Beach is Brendan McCarthy. He is the global head of ETF distribution at Goldman Sachs Asset Management. Brendan, it is wonderful to see you again. Thanks for joining me.
Thanks, Judy. Appreciate it.
So Brendan, tell me what investor outcome or problem you want to talk about today.
Yeah, that is the question du jour. And with this market backdrop of higher for longer, of geopolitical uncertainty, of emerging megatrends, we think it's really important that investors continue to have a diversified and well-balanced portfolio. So we're talking today about the tools we're offering to help clients achieve such balance in their portfolio.
Okay, so tell me, what are those tools?
So our lineup historically was built to provide clients the tools needed for portfolio construction. We've recently added to that in two manners. One is very much back to basics, right? Plain vanilla portfolio building blocks that clients need at low cost, but then also taking an active approach on a core allocation that investors have in their portfolio. So first, with the back to basics, we've recently launched Goldman Sachs Asset Management, Russell 1 Growth, and Value ETFs, tickers GGUS and GVUS respectively. This is, style investing doesn't go out of favor. It's always needed in a portfolio. And it was important for us to bring this to clients, this very much needed, relevant form of beta at a lower cost. So that's back to basics, just giving clients what they need. The second approach on this delivering tools is a more active approach. Small cap is certainly at the heart of many portfolios, and we're taking an active approach to, again, a very relevant portfolio allocation. We recently launched the Goldman Sachs Asset Management Small Cap Core ETF. This is an actively managed fund that takes 100 of our high conviction names from our small cap growth and value PMs and blends them together. Again, this is tapping into the active management team at Goldman Sachs, high conviction ideas, and putting it into the ETF wrapper, again, because we believe in small cap especially, there's room for active, there's room for alpha generation, and we believe that this is a portfolio building block that will be accepted in most investment portfolios.
All right, and Brendan, tell me, where should investors go to learn about your ETFs and also the market views for 2024?
So thank you. So investors can go to gsam.com/ETFs to learn all about our current lineup and some of our market outlooks. And where we're spending our time is continuing to be at forums like today down at Exchange, talking to our clients about what they need going forward. And what we're hearing is more choice, help me build that balanced, diversified portfolio, and help me think about where active fits into that. So a lot of great conversations, and our outlook is very much to continue that focus on active management.
All right, well, Brendan, wonderful to talk with you. Thanks for joining me in Floor Talk today.
Thanks, Judy. Appreciate it.
All right, we are about 8 minutes out, actually about 7.5 minutes, I would say, before we close out the U.S. equity markets for the day, and that's going to make us wrap here. But I want to get images right now. If we can take a look right now, the executive team, David, and everybody else. Lynn Martin is right there, actually. They're posing for pictures alongside, I believe that's Jeff Sprecher. I could be wrong, but it's a different angle from where I'm standing right now. But I want to point out that all the team right now, supporters of Goldman Sachs, they're gathering right now in front of CNBC's set. We're going to give you a little play-by-play of what we're seeing right now on the floor. So right now, all the traders are sort of going back and forth, trying to get those last-minute orders in as we get ready to close out the markets again for the day. A lot of news has been hitting headlines recently, and so we're on standby right now as we're looking out right now for David Solomon and a few of his colleagues, because we're going to interview him. And oh, hello. I think that we're ready to go. I believe Lynn Martin has a few last-minute remarks. Okay, it looks like we might not get the interview because, again, we're cutting it close to the bell. With 3 minutes, we're about 7 minutes out, sort of listening in right now to see what we can expect. Okay, so it looks like we are on standby. So we're going to toss it to a quick company video and we'll be right back. All right, the crowd is really revving up right behind me. Again, dozens of friends, colleagues, team members who've been a part of this integral moment today. Goldman Sachs celebrating their 25th listing anniversary here at the New York Stock Exchange, joining the over 2,400 listed companies, the world's largest exchange, arguably in total market cap, over $42 trillion in total market cap here at the New York Stock Exchange. And you know, I want to bring in one of my colleagues right now, Joe Tama, to speak more about the New York Stock Exchange's rich history and the significance in having, Goldman Sachs here and the whole team. So, good afternoon, Joe. What a great day.
Good afternoon, Trinity. It is absolutely a wonderful day. My name is Joe Tama, and I have had the very good fortune of being Goldman Sachs' relationship manager for the listing side of the house for over 20 years now.
And can you, for our viewers who might not know, explain what that is, what a relationship manager is and how you do that.
Absolutely, Trinity. And in working with Goldman Sachs, what I would say is I've had the pleasure of working with some of the finest minds on Wall Street. My role, Trinity, quite simply, is to work with Goldman's wonderful investor relations team and ensure that them and that their executives are fully plugged into all of the services and reports that the exchange offers.
Talk to me about this 25th listing anniversary, the significance in having Goldman Sachs here. I mean, being a part of this huge milestone.
Sure. Well, I always say, Trinity, every day at the New York Stock Exchange is special. But today is indeed a day of particular importance. For today, we are honoring the 25th anniversary of Goldman's own IPO, a transaction that had profound implications for the capital markets that's still being felt today.
Talk to me about where you were during Goldman Sachs' IPO.
Well, I was in graduate school at the time that the decision was announced. And I totally remember my finance professor ditching the textbook that we were studying, instead spending the rest of the class talking about the significance of the historical vote taken by the Goldman partners. I remember her bringing to class the Wall Street Journal, June 15th, 1998. I wish I had the original, but I do have a copy of it. And the title was Goldman's Wall Street Holdout Has Finally Decided to Go Public. The article started with the fact that this was once thought of as unlikely as the Yankees leaving New York.
Wow, this is incredible. I mean, did our printing team help with this? Because I'm like, where do you get paper that size? Oh, wow. Okay, so, also, let's talk about the IPO. Goldman Sachs listing with over 2,400 listed companies here at the NYSE. What is the overall message for the banking sector, having such a powerhouse be a part of the NYSE community?
Sure. Well, Trinity, I think at the time, it was Wall Street enthusiasts, from novices to professional traders to academics to historians, were all analyzing the considerations that were likely being weighed by the 6-member Goldman committee that was holed up in the Palisades Executive Conference Center the weekend that the transaction took place. And eventually they decided for the capital and the organizational flexibility of an IPO, ensuring the durability of Goldman offering their world-class services to their clients into the 21st century and beyond.
And talk to me about the message, your overall message, being a part of this journey, being with Goldman Sachs for so long. Is there anything that you would like to say to the broader team who's been a part of this journey?
Yes, absolutely. What I would like to do is express my heartfelt thanks to David Solomon, his esteemed predecessors, Goldman's partners, leaders, and 45,000 employees all over the world for that historic decision. Goldman Sachs remains one of the most special companies the world has ever seen over the past 25 years and over the past 155. While you have come a long way since Marcus Goldman opened up his one-bedroom office next to a coal chute on 30 Pine Street, your purpose, dedication, and relentless focus remains the same. The best days of Goldman Sachs remain right in front of you, and we cannot wait to see what is next.
We cannot wait to see what's next, and we're going to be a part of it.
Awesome.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Joe. All right, we're about 30 seconds out from closing out the U.S. equity markets. I want to point out that, again, this is an active trading floor. We have about 200 traders right now that are actively placing in those orders, getting those last-minute orders in right before we officially ring that closing bell. But, I just want to thank all of you for tuning into NYSE TV Live. I'm Trinity Chavez. Let's tune into that bell.
brands speak for themselves. The strongest brands stand the test of time. We are so excited to welcome you to our community. Today is all about you.
We've never lost sight of what we're trying to do and deliver that mission.
Going through this experience with my partners and my families has been unbelievable.
We imagined something that didn't exist yet, and we believed that we could do it.
You're going to look back on this accomplishment as one of the finest you've ever done.
I want you to know that the best is yet to come.
Just a few minutes, we'll go downstairs to the legendary New York Stock Exchange trading floor to ring the opening bell. The history here, the tradition, it's just incredible for us to be at this moment.